Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of El Paso Community College District. Today is Tuesday, October 27th, and it is 5:27. This meeting will be held by video teleconference in light of state and local emergency directives regarding COVID-19. The conference audio can be accessed by dialing the toll-free number 1-844-621-3956. Enter access code 120-493-67. Please and through a video audio feed found in youtube.com/go/PCC. Any member of the public wishing to make comment or questions regarding an agenda item can email the comments or questions to the following email address: boardquestions@epcc.edu. All backup and related materials for the meeting can be accessed at the following link: epcc.edu/administration/board of trustees. Ms. Pam, do we have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment at this time. I can do the roll call now if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Mr. Uxer.
John Uxer, present.
Ms. Sanchez.
Here.
Mrs. Robles. Mrs. Robles, can you hear me? I see Mrs. Robles. I do not hear Mrs. Robles. Dr. Graham.
Present.
Ms. Nájera.
Present.
Ms. Pina.
Present.
And Mr. Haggerty will join us later. Item 1.4, approval of minutes. We have minutes from the July 29th special meeting, August 12th special meeting, September 29th special meeting, and September 29th regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Are you making a motion to approve all of them or one?
Correct.
Oh,
All of them.
do we have a second?
Belén Robles, second the motion.
So there's a motion by Ms. Nájera and a second by Ms. Robles. I have a couple of questions. Can I ask? On page of the minute, July 29th. Let's see. There were several projects that Mr. Lobato was working on, Dr. Serrata, on as reflected on the minutes for the July 29th board meeting. Can we have an update later at another meeting as to if those projects have been completed or which ones are still pending?
Yes, ma'am, we will. We'll schedule that.
Thank you. And then on the one for October 12th, revenue based on the certified taxable valuation of 46.1 billion. Is that correct?
That is correct, Dr. Graham. It's 46.1 billion.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Would you pull the question? Ms. Pam?
Mr. Uxer.
John Uxer, I approve.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 1.5, welcome to guests.
We welcome all guests and staff members. Thank you for taking time to join us. Do we have anyone signed up, Ms. Pam, for the open forum?
We do not have anyone signed up for open forum today.
Okay, thank you. How about presentations?
Item 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, Dr. William Serrata, college president, will recognize individuals who have retired from the college district.
Good evening, Dr. Graham and members of the board. I hope everyone is safe and staying healthy in this unprecedented time. I'm going to be commenting on a few members of the college that have decided to move forward with retirement. First is Dana Eisenberg. Dana Eisenberg graduated from Ripon High School in California in 1970. After 1 year of college, he enlisted in the United States Army in August 1971. He retired after 26 years on September 1st, 1997 as a sergeant major in the personnel and administrative field. Graduated from Park College, Fort Bliss campus in May 1997 with a BA in management. He's been married to his wife, Bernarda, for 43 years and has 2 children and 2 grandchildren. He attended his first Tejanos baseball game on February 20th, 1996 against Lee College. After the game, he spoke with head coach Chris Brown and volunteered to keep the scorebook. He did this until the summer of 1998 when athletic director Fabiola Rubio hired him as a part-time employee. Finally, he became a full-time employee in February 2003. He had been at every Tejanos home baseball game from February 1996 to February 6, 2010, a 15-year period. He missed the next games February 16th and 20th through 21st, 2010 due to cancer surgery. He worked all baseball and softball home games along with the cross-country region and national meets held in El Paso during this entire period. Some of his greatest memories are softball district championship in 2000, the baseball region championship in 2002, and all of the cross-country and half marathon national championships. He is proud of the graduation of student athletes and those who went off to be congressional aides, El Paso Police and Fire, servicemen, Texas DPS, INS, and Border Patrols, school teachers and college professors, baseball, softball, and cross-country coaches in high school and college, doctors, lawyers, and the only Major League Baseball player yet, Fernando Rodriguez. We thank Mr. Eisenberg for his hard work and dedication, and we wish him a happy retirement. Next is Jesus Roberto Archuleta, the physical plant, a senior painter. Mr. Archuleta has worked for El Paso Community College for 35 years. And initially, Mr. Archuleta was hired as a part-timer in 1985 to work for the grounds department. He spent the next 16 years at grounds maintaining and beautifying the EPCC campuses. After this period, Mr. Archuleta accepted a promotion to the construction department as a senior painter, the position he held until his retirement. Over the years, Mr. Archuleta has worked on every campus and every building at EPCC. Because of that opportunity, he feels he has grown with the college. Mr. Archuleta feels privileged that he has witnessed the positive impact this organization has had on himself and the community. As far as his retirement plans, he plans to relax and enjoy his hobbies. Mr. Archuleta feels fortunate that he can retire while he is in good health and is able to enjoy his future endeavors, which include working with livestock. He would like to focus on that as a part-time business. Mr. Archuleta thanks the college for all the opportunities and the great people that he has worked with throughout the years. The physical plant department will miss his smile and his sense of humor. We wish Mr. Archuleta the best in the new chapter of his life. Angelina Arianes Nunez. At the age of 21, Ms. Nunez set foot in a classroom full of students with PhD and master's degrees. The group represented many countries in the world. They gave her the look, and she realized that she had to find a way to reach them as human beings before reaching them as students. This was her philosophy these past 40 years of teaching. She values and acknowledges the privilege of always being a student in her own classroom, and this always helped her model for her students the value of being a lifelong learner. Ms. Nunez has a special passion for global traveling and learning about the human spirit. Her profession allowed her to have representatives of the world of different social strata and criminal backgrounds. For these reasons, Ms. Nunez always found it imperative to build community in her classroom, to nurture respect, acceptance, and understanding within the realities of her own classroom. Her time in the classroom and participation on numerous initiatives ignited in her the desire to always maintain her passion for teaching and learning. Being a first college generation in her family, a girl from the barrio who had the great honor of sharing life with students within the age range of 3 to 77 years of age, Ms. Nunez reflected and wrote, "I had a life present me with multiple lenses throughout which I could see the world and our country from multiple perspectives, and this challenged me to be a better version of myself on a daily basis." We wish Ms. Nunez a healthy, long, and happy retirement. And finally, Dr. Graham and members of the board, Dr. Carina Ramirez, an ESOL instructor. Dr. Ramirez says that she is one of the luckiest people on this earth. All of the wonderful things that have happened to her were accidental. Very many years ago, she got stuck in El Paso for several days when she was only supposed to have a 3-hour layover. During that time, she met a couple of professors from the university and ended up staying in El Paso to teach linguistics at UTEP. When EPCC was first established and classes were offered in unused barracks at Fort Bliss, she was asked to teach a couple of night classes consisting of students who wanted to be there, students who were bound to persevere. And a bond was made with the college which could not be broken. When the Valle Verde campus was established very close to her home, she transferred her full-time allegiance to EPCC, where those students were always her priority. During the time when Dr. Ramirez served as faculty president, the faculty was finally established as a force to be dealt with in a positive and respectful manner. The Faculty Association and Senate were finally established as academically based organizations which stood up for the best interests not only of the faculty but also of the students and of the college, and similarly interests which strengthened those relationships not only with the administration but also with the Board of Trustees. Throughout the years, Dr. Ramirez represented the faculty on innumerable committees like those established during the master planning process and various committees dealing with the Pathways 40X retention. She represented and guided faculty through many hard times, such as the time as they were threatened with budget cuts and college officials wanted to stop paying the faculty and other employees contributions to the state of Texas health plans. Dr. Ramirez argued strongly against this idea, and the faculty breathed a collective sigh of relief when the idea was not adopted. Dr. Ramirez was also responsible for the development of the professorial ranking system and refined and fixed salary scale to which the professorial ranking was attached. This salary scale eliminated the determination of salaries based upon friendships and personal negotiations and was instead based upon education and experience. Of major consequence is the fact that a faculty search committee led by Dr. Ramirez played a major role in the search for the president of the college, which ended up in the hiring of Dr. Serrata. Aside from the successes of her former students, she is most proud of having been a part of that particular search. It is with very mixed emotions that she has decided to finally begin to take advantage of the funds she has sitting in the coffers of TFA in Austin. We wish Dr. Ramirez a very happy retirement. You will be missed, Dr. Ramirez. Dr. Graham, that concludes the presentation of those that are retiring.
Thank you, Dr. Serrata. Certainly, we're going to be missing them, and we thank them for their years of service. They are part of the legacy of this college, and we hope to see them in the Retiree Association once we get back to normal. Ms. Pam, do we have any other reports?
For item 1.7.2, we were not submitted any reports from the organizations. So the next item, 1.8 communications, there is none.
I make a statement on these communications just to share with everyone that one of our very dear employees and a member of my extended family, Claudia Del Hierro, lost her life in a horrible automobile accident And we extend our condolences and prayers to her family, as she was a most valuable employee of EPCC. Thank you.
And I do believe that Mr. Haggerty has joined our call. He won't be able to participate, but he's on the line via phone. The next item, item 1.9, Board of Trustees business. Item 1.9.1, discussion and action on the timeline and schedule to review and approve local policies recommended by the Texas Association of School Boards, TASB.
Okay, I hope you had an opportunity to review the schedule. Do we have any comments from anyone on the board?
I have a comment, Dr. Graham.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thanks. Thank you. And thank you again to Dr. Penley for organizing this and putting this together. So in the backup, there's two schedules, and one schedule takes us, and we'll call it the accelerated schedule. It's the one, I believe it's the first one that starts on page 29, and it ends, I believe the timeline or time frame is August 2021. The other one takes us through, I think, the end of that year. The board did have a discussion at our last special meeting in terms of where we would think we would like to go in terms of an acceleration of a policy review. One of the items that we did not talk about, and just to sum up, I am in favor of an accelerated review. I think what I'd like to hear, though, to get some feedback on is based on the time frame or the timeline that has been provided, whether or not it's worth considering whether certain policies should be the ones reviewed first, right? These are the critical ones that need to be in place. So the way, as I understand the timeline, is we approve as we go. In other words, it's not going to be one whole package deal that it's all approved at the end of August 2021. It's a approve as you go. And so my question is, if there has been an evaluation, a determination as to whether certain policies would be better reviewed and approved and considered by the board in the near future versus later in that time frame. So that's one question. And then the second question that I do have is, we have been provided some policies in our backup. They're quite extensive and they're quite lengthy. And so we had not talked about it our last meeting, and hopefully we can talk about it today, is whether or not it's worth for the board to have committees to review certain policies, right? I mean, so that I would suggest we post them as an open meeting, but at least have a much more in-depth discussion of them versus a very quick, first reading, and then at the next meeting we do an approval of them. I just feel there's a lot of information there. I've taken notes on the ones that have been provided, and so that's something I'd like for the board to discuss at this time, if that's something they'd be interested in. If not, I find value to that, in that, again, I think it helps us to really just kind of take a deeper dive in those policies. And if the public or members of the administration, staff, faculty would like to participate, they certainly, and students, they certainly can at that time. So those are my 2 points that I wanted to address. The first one on the policy timeline, in terms of whether or not there's suggested policies that should be reviewed first. I don't know if anyone else had any comments on that.
Does anybody else have any comments on that?
Not on that in particularly, but my question though is, Ms. Sanchez, is what you mean discussing this at board meetings, or discussing it as a committee? So for example, some of the school districts have policy committee meetings, and so they're still open to the public, but it's not necessarily at a board meeting where it would, make it so much longer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what the idea would be. It would just be as a posted item for the consideration of the policy, right? So it's not, here at our regular meeting, we have a long list of other agenda items to consider. We have people that are here to address the board. We have faculty and staff here, but it's really just a special meeting dedicated to the review of those policies. That's right.
Are you in favor of that, Ms. Nájera?
Absolutely. I although I understand the need to proceed with this and go a little bit fast, I think we should be very thorough with each one of the policies. So I am in favor of course, of having a policy committee meeting, as long as we open it to the public. I love the idea.
So that's one of the areas where I have experience with, because we do have a policy committee meeting, ongoing where I work, and certainly it gives us the opportunity to really look very closely and discuss and bounce ideas off of each other. And sometimes we're joined by other people that know what the policy is that's coming up for review, and they have an interest in it, and they also join the meeting. So I certainly favor that idea. I do think we have to prioritize the policies that need to be considered like with a higher degree of urgency, especially the ones that are kind of resulting in legal issues, for lack of a better word. I think that the personnel policies should be prioritized, that we need to get those in place as quickly as possible. I'm of the opinion that yes, we should have a committee, and I certainly would love to serve on that committee. And if you have other people that are interested in it, by all means, it would be a committee of 3, and then whatever decisions are made then are brought to the full board. The committee does not make a final decision. They make a final recommendation that comes to the board, to the full board. Other discussion, other ideas?
Dr. Graham, this is Julie Penley. If I can jump in quickly.
Absolutely.
So in response to Ms. Sanchez's question regarding the sequencing, or if certain policies could be presented in a different order, the schedules that you've been presented were put together by TASB. The recommended schedule that takes us through January of 2022 is their schedule that they recommend for every Texas community college in those sequences. So it would be policies in categories A, B, and G reviewed and approved first, and then categories E and F, and finally categories C and D. Given our timelines and the possibility of completing the review before the end of the legislative session, they did agree to the accelerated schedule that would get the policies reviewed by next August. And so they are willing to make that adjustment to the categories in order to help you better balance the workload, so that you're not slammed with an inordinate number of policies at any one time, kind of a more equitable distribution of the number of policies. The reason that you are reviewing 6 policies tonight go against the TASB schedule, but are an example of what Dr. Graham brought up earlier, where sometimes we need to respond in a more timely manner in order to be in compliance with state laws. And those are the aspects of the 6 policies that you are seeing tonight.
Yeah, I saw those deadlines, absolutely, where we have to adopt them before that December deadline. So I certainly understand that. I do have a question just on some of your comments, Dr. Penley. You had indicated that a recommended schedule from 2022. Can you kind of lay out for me, or just to give me an idea as that we have these 2 schedules, but is there one? I mean, we're saying the sooner the better, right? But is there, from a subject matter expert standpoint, or even from a TASB standpoint, as to why maybe we would want to go with the other timeline, which takes us into January 2022?
So the schedule through 2022 was the schedule that I suggested to TASB in order to complete the job before our SAC-COC reaffirmation work begins in earnest. So that was the original schedule I proposed to TASB. They came back and they said that is fine, it's reasonable. But if it's at all possible for the board to consider an alternate or accelerated schedule from TASB's point of view to complete the reviews before the legislative session ends, because as many of you know, during each legislative session, something could come up that may require us to adjust our operations or practices very quickly. And so to avoid having the board review a policy twice, once now and once after a possible legislative action, they recommended that we put the pedal to the metal, or we ask you to put the pedal to the metal and complete the review before the session ends, so that everything is completed before any possible second review, so that we're not caught up in between policy revisions.
I would add, members of the board, with regards to a committee structure that is at the purview of the board. We just finished our Facilities and Finance Committee, and that is a committee of the whole. So the board can determine whether it be a committee of 3 members, whether it be a committee of the whole. This would be purely a board decision. Those meetings would still be posted. Those meetings would still be open to the public. The agendas would be posted on a regular basis. So there's a couple of ways the board can choose either a committee structure, or we could do workshops to review a significant portion of policies at any given time and schedule those accordingly. This would, again, be a decision and a recommendation of the board, and the staff and I are ready to move forward with whichever the board chooses.
You're muted, Dr. Graham.
Sorry. Thank you. I kind of favor the suggestion of just having workshops at this point, because I think that if we're going to move into establishing board committees, that in itself requires some kind of documentation, I would think, that enables the board to say, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. But either one to me is good, as long as we have an opportunity to discuss the policies.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's a good suggestion, Dr. Serrata. Maybe we can do that, have the workshops for now, and then later if we decide to go with the committees, we put the process in place and make it a local policy.
Understood, Dr. Graham. What we'll do is I'll work with Dr. Penley and her team, and we will develop a schedule for those workshops and work around the board's calendars to make sure that we can get these in between now and the end of the session. I would suggest, I'm almost positive there'll be a special session called for redistricting. The session ends at the end of May. Sine die is May 30th, but I'm sure there'll be a special session that will impact our board, as there will be looking at redistricting as well. And ultimately, legal counsel will have to work with the board and state officials on our own board members' districts.
Yes, sir. Any other input from anyone?
Okay, I do. So I guess if we're done with the scheduling question or issue that we're looking at, I did have a couple of comments on the policies that were provided in the backup as first reading. Mm-hmm. May I go into those?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. So I do have a question on page 33 of the backup material. Well, actually, can I stop right here? Can I have Dr. Penley, just for the benefit of the public, if you can give a very quick overview of the policies that have been provided for first reading, that have been provided in the backup, just very quickly what's included in there, what the board is being asked to look at, reference the deadlines or the timelines as to why we're looking at it at this time. You can do that, please.
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, the board is provided 6 policies to read tonight, not to take any action on, but just as a first reading. And In order, I'll briefly explain what each policy focuses on. The first policy, DGC, according to the TASB organizational system, has to do with employee rights and privileges, which is a fancy way of saying that these are First Amendment issues, freedom of speech. And it also speaks to the Texas Education Code regarding protected expression. And so it talks about things like academic freedom, distribution of materials, time, place, manner restrictions, focusing again on employees using EPCC facilities. A similar policy is a little bit later in the packet, policy FLA, the fifth policy, and the one right after that, policy GD. Those two policies focus on the same types of issues, First Amendment rights, Texas Education Code for protected expression, but FLA focuses on students rather than employees. And policy GD, the last policy that I'm presenting tonight, focuses on community expression, those individuals that are not otherwise affiliated with the EPCC. So those three policies tackle the same issues, First Amendment rights, protected expression, in the case of faculty, academic freedom. The second policy in your packet, DIAA, and the policy immediately after that, FFDA, have to do with freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. This has to do with sexual harassment and sexual violence. Policy DIAA has to do with violence and harassment, retaliation targeting employees. The policy immediately after that, FFDA, has to do with protections under Title IX from sexual harassment, sexual violence targeting students, regardless of who the perpetrator is. And the fourth policy in your packet, policy FKC, has to do with student activities on campus and specifically registered student organizations, which we might think of anecdotally as the student clubs. It is also a Texas Education Code policy, and it's established to identify the process for requesting and receiving recognition as an organized student campus. But it also has to do with laying the groundwork for required training. And these student groups that are recognized as such by EPCC must undergo risk management training, which would include topics such as hazing, drug and alcohol, possession and abuse, sexual abuse and harassment, student travel, firearms safety. And the Education Code specifically requires that training for student groups. And so that's why I'm presenting that policy to you tonight. So in sum, the six policies have to do with, three of them have to do with First Amendment rights. Two of them have to do with Title IX protections and state laws of the same. And the last policy has to do with Texas Education Code with required training for student organizations.
Dr. Penley, thank you so much for that overview. I do have a couple of questions on a couple of those policies. The first one, it's just a general question. Does legal counsel provide a review of these policies?
So TASB's legal counsel has provided the templates. I have provided the documents that you are seeing tonight to our Scott Hulse attorneys, and they have also been reviewing them, and they encouraged me to present these tonight as is.
Okay, great. So maybe this is in line with this, and I don't know if it's just a matter of cleanup or if this is just a stylistic thing that TASB has with its policies, because, you know, when you go through a policy, it should lay out exactly, and which they do. I mean, they're very clear, they're very good. It lays out exactly what provision of the Education Code, what law that they're citing to, and delineates it pretty clearly. Where I was a little confused, and I'm not sure if it's just superfluous or why exactly that was in there, it was on page 33 of the policy, or excuse me, And it's a section that's titled Academic Freedom Exception. And so it cites to a Supreme Court case, but in that citation, and what it's basically saying is that that issue has not been decided. And this is as it goes to the I think where is it here? Yeah, that it doesn't go, I think, to, I guess, any academic scholarship or classroom instruction. And so, you know, it cites it verbatim from that particular Supreme Court case, but I think that specific section that it cites, to me, it reads a little bit confusing, and I'm just not sure or clear why we would want to cite that if it doesn't add value to the policy that we have. The way that I read this is just that it's saying that in this particular analysis that we're reviewing, it doesn't apply the same test. And so, as we would for employee speech. So, you know, to me, that means that the issue has not been decided in that way. And so I just don't see what value it adds. And I feel like it's a little confusing. So if somebody could maybe take a quicker look at that or another look at that, I just think that section should be a little bit more clear, because we know that, you know, freedom of expression, obviously it's very nuanced. It's an important issue. It's very clear, but get muddied up pretty quickly. And so we want to make sure that it's as clear as possible. The other point that I wanted to raise was on page 45 of the policy. And I don't know if this was a typo or maybe I'm just reading it incorrectly, but it's that first paragraph under actual knowledge, first sentence, and I'll just quickly go through, or to any employee of an elementary and secondary school. I don't know if it meant to reference that or if it meant to reference the college district or an institution of higher education. So if we can just take a look at that to see if that needs to get cleaned up there. I noted that in some phrases in the policy that they were shadowed. Can you explain if that was just going to go back to be reviewed or just a different recommendation on those particular sections that were shadowed or highlighted in the policy?
Sure, that's a great observation. So the parts that are shadowed are the things that are specific to EPCC. So another way of saying that is if it's not shadowed, the document was presented to us by TASB as is, and the only parts that were changed were the parts that are shaded, specific to the college. So going back to the question you just raised, Ms. Sanchez, on page 45, that was presented to us as is. I'm not making excuses, but at the same time, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know if that's a direct quote from the CFR or if that's how that's written. But so the parts that are shaded are the things that I added, that I double checked with TASB, double checked with Scott Hulse, but those are references to specific personnel or specific roles at EPCC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Penley. And then there's the last point. So I noticed in some sections of the policy, we do a specific designation of an individual who will serve as the point of contact, as the coordinator. So my question to that is that required? Do we have to name the specific person? Can we name the position? And the only reason I raise that is in the event, you know, somebody leaves. And so we just, you know, and knowing it just kind of takes some time sometimes for policies to be adopted, whether it makes more sense to put the position or are we required to put the name, the exact name of the individual. And if so, then what would be the plan to ensure that we, you know, revise that policy or update that policy to make sure that we change that out to reflect the current person who would serve in that role?
Absolutely. So to my knowledge, and I've worked ahead a little bit, the only policies that we require to identify a specific individual are the Title IX coordinators for students and for employees. And that is something that TASB and the law are requiring us to do, not only in the policies, but on the posters that are provided on the website, that we do need a specific person that individuals know to go to. Everything else, I guess, because it's a little lower stakes, lower consequences if they happen to go to the wrong person. But for something like sexual harassment or Title IX, for privacy and for confidentiality, it's best to identify a specific individual by name.
Okay.
And on that, just to add a little bit to that, you also have to publicize who that individual is on either the website or publications like your employee handbook. You know, some of those names, like you say, specifically the Title IX, those have to be. And then if the person leaves and you end up with someone else, then the change needs to be made right away on the website or on the publications.
Yes, ma'am. And you would be provided a new, provided a policy for review of that new individual's name. Mhm.
But, you know, Ms. Sanchez, one of the things that some of these questions that you have that are on the legal policies, don't forget that we hired TASB to also work with us, with the board, to help with all these policies and streamline everything. So you are free to contact them, and I'm sure Dr. Serrata has the number. They're very accessible, and then attorney to attorney, you can talk to them about any concerns that you have, like such as the one on the legal policy that you were looking at, and they justify why they have it the way they have it.
Great. I just didn't want to disrupt the process. If we have a liaison right now that are putting the policies together, it's, I think for me at least, because I don't serve as a legal counsel for the college, but at least I can, you know, they can filter those questions or those issues. They might have a reason. I don't doubt it. They're the experts in this. But just for me, if I'm reading the policy, if I'm just a member of the public, I just, you know, you want to make it as clear as possible. So those are just some general observations on how it reads, not necessarily from a legal standpoint, but mostly from a, I guess, user-friendly, you know, maybe there's a specific reason why it needs to be in there. But thank you. Absolutely. I hope to and plan to reach out at some point for any additional questions. And then the last thing is, you know, I don't know if there's any more questions, but I guess we're going to be taking specific action today in terms of the adoption of the schedule. And then you want us to approve these policies on first reading?
No, ma'am. No, I do not want, the policies are provided for you for reading only, no action required.
But so we get a month to read them and make a decision. But we do need to approve the schedule, right? And, you know, whether we go with the accelerated schedule or the alternative schedule. So we will need a motion to approve the one or the other schedule.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we adopt the timeline as presented in the backup with the end date of August 2021. That was the first policy that's provided in the backup.
Okay. Do we have a second?
This is Bonnie Nájera, a second.
Thank you, Ms. Nájera. Pam, will you call the question?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Uxer,
John Uxer, aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles, Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty, are you on the line?
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Dr. Graham, item 1.9.2, discuss and take appropriate action regarding the designation of fiscal agent and distribution of the proceeds of the settlement between the college as a member of the Rate 41 Group Interveners and Public Utility Commission applicants El Paso Electric Company and Sun Jupiter Holdings and Public Utility Commission of Texas proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to a J.P. Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, docket number 49849, Public Utility Commission of Texas.
We have a corresponding executive session item, so we should probably table this until after we've heard that item, please. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that, or we just move it to the executive?
No, ma'am, we already have a corresponding item, so we just table it and take it up again at the end.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 1.10, board reports. Item 1.10.1, treasurer's report, none. Item 1.10.2, president's report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. William Serrata, college president, will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at the college to include an update on the COVID-19 pandemic and appropriate actions taken.
Members of the board, I'm going to begin tonight with the COVID-19 update. All of us are going through, and our community is going through a rather tragic and dire situation. And so I hope that everyone is taking care of, the entire college community is taking care of themselves. We have a COVID team meeting weekly that includes human resources, employee relations, our emergency management coordinator, and we meet on a regular basis weekly to go over where we are, new events that we're dealing with. This particular week, we also, given the county judge's new executive orders in cooperation and collaboration with Governor Abbott's office, we also pulled in Mr. Smith to look at what we were doing with regards to the limited number of courses that we have meeting face-to-face in smaller groups, adhering to CDC guidelines, utilizing PPE. These are primarily our career and technology education courses, our hands-on courses, our clinicals, and our lab-intensive courses. It's probably somewhere between 8 and 10% of our total coursework. We brought him in to help us with that meeting. We also brought in legal counsel, asked Mr. Ortega to join us from Scott Hulse to ensure that we were in compliance with the executive orders. And we are, as an education institution, we are exempt from some of those, but we still felt that it was important for us to have that. And as a result, what we've done is we have suspended those courses. They will not be meeting for the next 2 weeks. We want to do our part to help break this increase in cases and lower the curve, flatten the curve, if you will. The 5 metrics that we continue to review, and again, the city and county dashboard is instrumental. We keep up with this data on a regular basis, but I'll just remind the board that we're looking at the 14 days of decreasing cases. In this particular 2-week period, we're at over nearly 12,000 cases. So we're nowhere near that 14-day of decreasing cases. This is in addition to the previous 2 weeks, which were also much higher than the previous before that. So we are at a point that we do not obviously believe that we can be looking, and in adherence with the new executive orders, would we be able to see any kind of return to campus yet. The rolling 7-day positivity average, that should be less than or equal to 5%. As of this morning, it was 15.19%. The cumulative positivity rate needs to be less than 10%. And for the first time in a long time, our community is now over 10%. It's at 10.19%. Robust testing program indicates, based on the CDC and the government, the federal government's guidelines, that you should have testing results within 4 days, less than or equal to 4 days, to go into phase 1. Unfortunately, we continue to see delayed cases reported daily. This morning, 55 delayed cases were reported, and so we're nowhere near that one. And finally, the infection rate, we're looking at no more than 25 cases per 100 positive cases identified per 100,000 in our population, with approximately 850,000 people in El Paso County. We should be looking at no more than 212 cases per day. Today was 1,390. Yesterday was 1,443. So unfortunately, we are currently not in a position to make any recommendation on a return to campus. We're at the point where, just based on the huge increase in cases that we are delaying our face-to-face and the CTE courses for the next 2 weeks. We will continue to monitor the data and the situation and brief the board accordingly when we are ready to bring those courses back. We have a plan in place should the students get to a point, much like they did in the spring semester, where they were not able to make up that work in a timely fashion. We had to provide incompletes for those students. And then our faculty was amazing. And when the governor lifted the order in May, we started bringing students back in small groups, again, social distancing and adhering to all the guidelines and PPE. Started to bring students back in small groups, and we're able to get them to complete those CTE coursework at the end of the month of May, so that they could move forward with enrolling for the summer should they choose to do so. We will do something similar. We will have a plan in place should this continue and we're not able to bring our students back for the foreseeable future. When things begin to go in the right direction, we will then bring those students back accordingly. That is the update that I have with regards to COVID-19 and what we're seeing in our community, the actions that we have taken as we move forward. Some other items with regards to my report. Since our last board meeting on September 29th, I've participated in 80 virtual meetings and calls, including presiding over an ACC board meeting in which we met with the National Student Clearinghouse CEO, Rick Torres, and Dr. Doug Shapiro, who's the Executive Director of the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, to review the national trends for fall enrollment. And for context, what we're seeing is community colleges are seeing a 9.5% decline in enrollment nationally. Public universities are seeing a decline, but a much smaller decline. It's about between 1.5% and 2%. The only sector that we're seeing enrollment actually go up is private for-profit universities. So think of Strayer, think of University of Phoenix, that their normal format is online. That is those are the areas that we're seeing an increase in student enrollment. All other sectors are down. For context, in the state of Texas, I was participated in a call with Rob Kaplan, the president of the Dallas Fed. He had just interviewed Chancellor Milliken from the University of Texas system. The two flagships, so UT Austin A&M, are both up. Those are, from my perspective, a reflection of the socioeconomic status and the students that they're working with. But most regional universities and by and large, most community colleges, unfortunately, have seen enrollment drops this fall. I participated in Excelencia in Education's Accelerating Latino Student Success, or ALAS Institute's closing plenary, presided over the Excelencia in Education board business meeting and the board retreat, taped a congratulatory video message for Alatgoan Elementary Honor Roll Assembly, participated in 6 Aspen Institute meetings, participated in 4 statewide transfer meetings as appointed by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Commissioner Keller, chaired the Texas Student Success Council meeting to finalize that group's legislative priorities for the council, which we did. We held 14 Texas Association of Community College meetings, including 2 TRUE initiative meetings. TRUE is the Texas Reskilling and Upskilling Through Education initiative that we are proposing as a legislative priority. 1 TAC quarterly board meeting, 1 TAC officers call, 1 executive committee meeting, 1 legislative meeting, 1 TAC COVID-19 meeting. We participated in an orientation for new presidents, 6 new presidents that have started amongst the 50 community colleges in the state of Texas, 2 funding analysis meetings, 2 Senate testimony prep meetings, and finally 2 data summit meetings. As I indicated earlier, I attended the El Paso branch of the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank joint board meeting with Banco de Mexico, and we were joined by the Dallas Fed president, Rob Kaplan. Participated in the live EDUCAUSE session with Dr. Mark Milliron from Western Governors University, Dr. Karen Stout, the CEO for Achieving the Dream, and Lori Haycock, the Senior Vice President for Achieving the Dream, and was fortunate to participate in the Leadership Academy, Dr. Brown's Leadership Academy speed leading session with other cabinet members. Participated in a call with Vice President Shaughnessy and Associate Vice President Flores, in which the outcome of our surveillance review by S&P Global Ratings was revealed. That rating committee had reaffirmed the college's bond rating of A+ with a stable outlook. This is quite an achievement given the challenges presented by the COVID pandemic. Kudos to all involved in that, in preparation and in that call, in particular Vice President Shaughnessy and Associate Vice President Flores. Before I continue and move forward, I'd like to ask and call on Associate Vice President Flores to provide the board with some additional context on the S&P rating call. Mr. Flores, if you'll please brief the board.
Thank you, Dr. Serrata. Be happy to provide a brief report on this surveillance call. Standard & Poor's Global Ratings, formerly known as Standard & Poor's, credit rating agency, performed their biennial ratings review of El Paso Community College's Texas Series 2016 Combined Fee Revenue Improvement Bonds. On October 7th, S&P published the district's rating review announcing and reaffirming the college's rating of A+ with a stable outlook. This is excellent news, and amongst other things, this rating messages to the financial community that we have a strong capacity to meet our financial commitments. The biggest surprise was being able to maintain a stable outlook, as we were expecting this to be changed to a negative outlook due to the impact of COVID-19 on the district's quick move to an online teaching environment and its resulting impact on enrollment. But in considering the many other factors that we're evaluating, the rating outlook remained unchanged. Some of the rationale presented was the district has had a smooth transition to online learning, resulting in only a 10% drop in enrollment. The conservative FY21 budgeting, however, planned for a 20% decline in enrollment with a reserve of $900,000 in a contingency fund. Additional CARES funds are available at the district's discretion to cover eligible expenses related to COVID-19 should they persist, was another item presented. The positive S&P rating reflects their view of the district's consistently positive operating surpluses, tax-based growth, good revenue diversity, and our ability to maintain financial resource ratios at current levels. In addition, management is viewed as stable and cohesive. In addition, they cited that Dr. Serrata's 20 years of experience in higher education and Mr. Brian Haggerty, a longtime board member, and board secretary, Mrs. Belen Robles, also a longtime board member, as reasons for reaffirming our A+ rating. None of this could have been achieved without the collective efforts of such a large team of engaged board members, the president, colleagues, faculty and staff throughout the district getting behind the district's many efforts to educate the community. Certainly would like to acknowledge the efforts of our Vice President of Financial and Administrative Operations for her efforts beginning in July to respond to a 9-page questionnaire, detailed questionnaire, providing this information, hosting and chairing the August 11th surveillance call that included Dr. Serrata and cabinet members, and gathering all this information and presenting it to S&P. And all this resulted in the October 7th rating, which was A+ with a stable outlook. Thank you, Dr. Serrata.
Mr. Flores, thank you for your efforts, and Ms. Shaughnessy, kudos to each of you. This was not an easy task, and a tribute to the board's vision and taking your fiduciary responsibility so seriously. We certainly appreciate the leadership. Continuing on with the report, our resources and services continue to evolve and adapt to meet the needs of our students. Our libraries, librarians, and staff continue to find new tools and engagement strategies that are making an impact for the community we serve. The Valle Verde Library has moved the seniors going digital, face-to-face classes to the Epcc TV, thanks to assistant professors and librarians Debbie Lopez, Katie Pinon, Adrian Morales, and the Epcc TV department staff. Our senior citizens can now learn basic computer skills safely at home via their television sets. The televised programs are underway and will run through the end of the fall semester. Northwest Campus Librarian Helen Bell and Librarian Assistant Oscar Garza are teaching coding to students ages 15 to 17. These students are part of the Southwest Key program for unaccompanied teens, mostly from Honduras and Guatemala, and they all participate in the lesson with only one computer. The Scratch coding lesson plans are coordinated by Helen Bell, who teaches from home using an iPad. Oscar Garza manages Blackboard and shares the Scratch coding platform. Lesson slides and videos explaining Scratch via YouTube or CS First Google. The process involves the librarians taking direction and ideas from the students and uploading their drawings to Scratch. The teachers from the Southwest Key program then email the students' work to the librarians. The students report that they enjoy the class and hope to continue their weekly classes through the end of December. Thank you to everyone involved with this great work and community service benefiting these vulnerable youth who need so much support and caring helping hand. Your efforts and work are exemplary. The American Philosophical Association, APA, recognized EPCC's Philosophy Club's work by publishing an article highlighting their contributions to the U.S.-Mexico border community. The report covered the club's multiple activities, topics of interest, upcoming projects, and their participation throughout the year. It is honored to be recognized by the APA, which is known to be one of the most important philosophical institutions worldwide. The association promotes the discipline and profession of philosophy, both within the academy and in the public arena. In addition, EPCC's Philosophy Club has been named a community champion, an effort and recognition sponsored by the El Paso Community Foundation and Albertsons. Both of these recognitions reflect and are a result of the club's leadership, commitment, and dedication. In addition to the above recognitions, the clubs has made or sewn more than 2,500 reusable face masks for our migrant and homeless community during this pandemic. They participate in multiple community service projects throughout the year and focus on important topics of discussion like racism. Congratulations to EPC's Philosophy Club members and founder, Professor Manuela Gomez, who have gone above and beyond during this unprecedented time to make a difference in our community. The EPCC Mindfulness Club, which is comprised of students, faculty, and staff, has been meeting twice a month since we began working remotely. The club provides a critical need and supportive environment to members experiencing stress and anxiety, notably now with the COVID-19 pandemic. They share resources, practice mindfulness, and discuss how to self-regulate emotions to stay calm. They also provide tips on balancing our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems with daily mindfulness practice, which helps us remain focused and calm during stressful situations. Thank you to Professor Dr. Kim Diaz and Edith Aguirre for sharing a presentation on helpful techniques to overcome test and presentation anxiety, and to Club President Sherilyn Maldonado, who led a self-compassion activity. EPCC hosted its 7th annual Building Bridges Dual Credit Conference on October 17th with pre-conference sessions from October 12th to October 16th. A total of 156 participants from across the region were in attendance at this first virtual conference. Special thanks and appreciation to Dean Tony Badillo and the conference committee, Luz Cadena, Celeste Cardosa Comer, Olaya Cázares, Selena Gomez, Lorena Gonzalez, Michael Gonzalez, Diana Medina, Sue Selk, Art Valdespino, and Jorge Valenzuela. This is an annual conference and information sharing discussion with our ISD partners, so thank you all for continuing this important work. Congratulations to all the dental hygiene graduates who received their degree and passed both the national and regional exams. I'd also like to highlight El Paso Giving Day. On October 15th, the Foundation for EPCC participated in El Paso Giving Day, which raised more than $16,000 for the EPCC Stay Strong Fund, which helps students stay on their educational pathway by providing emergency funding for food insecurity, utilities, and other living expenses. Thank you to the Board of Trustees who generously supported this effort, as well as more than 95 other donors, including EPCC administrators, faculty, and staff, along with community members. Congratulations to Dr. Dolores Gross and the Foundation staff for leading this important effort to help our students. Many thanks to the board members again. And Dr. Graham, members of the board, that concludes my report. I know that there is a second segment of my report that we will have Dr. Olga Valerio, the Dean of Advanced Technology Center, who will provide a presentation on the Robotics and Automation program.
Thank you, Dr. Serrata, and thank you for attending all those meetings, countless hours of, but they are important and we appreciate your time. And thank you to Mr. Flores and the staff for the awesome job that they do with the finances and everything that they do to keep us with that A+ rating.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm waiting from David, I'm sorry, to give me the chair. Good afternoon, board members, Dr. Serrata, cabinet officer, and those who are with us on YouTube. I'm Olga Valerio, and the Dean of the Advanced Technology Center. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm delighted to be here today, and I will be presenting about one of my favorite topics since I was a little child, technology, more specifically, robotics and automation. The Robotics and Automation program at Advanced Technology Center is composed from three principal characteristics. We prepare individuals for employment as industrial maintenance, supply chain, automation technicians. Our courses are based in a solid foundation in basic electricity, electronics, motors and control, robotics, electrical troubleshooting, hydraulics, pneumatics, programmable controllers, and obviously automation. Our students earn 46 credits in 18 months. Our program, at the end to the program, our students are capable to take the certification exam on fluid power and societal maintenance and reliability. As I mentioned before, in the beginning, the program has a really basic foundation in basic concepts. But when the students start to take the robotic courses, they will be learning about industrial robotic interfacing techniques, how to enhance the performance of the robotics and the machines, the automation machines with which they are connected. They diagnose and solve interfacing problems, manipulate automated equipment, determine the quality of graphic user interface, which is translated to the screen. The students can see it, they can manipulate, they can control the robotics and the machines they are connecting or interfacing. They also practice preventive and predictive maintenance. In advanced courses in robotics, students will learn to identify the different types of automation. They will be able to discuss the impact of flexible automation on the production line of the different manufacturing industries that we have here in El Paso. They describe general characteristics of flexible robotic manufacturing systems. Our students learn how to work with the different control boxes. In other words, they learn how to work with the controllers, wireless, or when they are connected to each other. They can describe different control systems, develop different robotic applications, calibrate, test, manipulate, update, and maintain automotive equipment. In this slide, I'm showing to you two examples. This is a real examples of our students in the robotic lab. At the top of the slide that you can see our students are interfacing the robotic Arduino, whose one is a stable wire robot, with some of the extrusion machines in plastics. At the bottom of the slide, you can see a flexible automation. We call flexible automation because this robot can be moved and manipulated in the different size that you want it. We call this robot usually the pick and down or the pick and dropping robot. And this is the typical arm that you can see in many, many industries, in many manufacturing companies. What is the opportunities that we have in robotics and automation? Well, the student has a different opportunities. Microcontrollers, they can be a microcontrollers programmers and designers robots. They can be able to design circuits, operate and maintain robotic parts. They can have an opportunities in additive and subtractive manufacturing, general, all the kind of manufacturers, automobile, plastics, Coca-Cola, et cetera, They can be able also in this opportunity to be able to discuss different kinds of robots. The most typically that now we have is drones. They can discuss and programming based strategies for automation. As you can see in this slide, these pictures also show these times, these crucial times that we have with the virus. You can see the students with the face mask and the gloves. The students that were working with the drones at the top, the students at the top to the slide, you can see all the wiring. The students that were programming robots from there, they sit to the other side, to the lab. Something that is really important for everybody to have a really good qualified, a really good life after they graduated, obviously, is salaries or wages. In this slide, I'm showing to you the different wages the students can make it. And you can see that they can be able to make from $34,000 to $56,000. And this is just an entry level. $34,000 usually is how much the students, after they graduated from 18 months, they make $34,000. What is our highlights and initiatives that we have in the robotics program? Well, we have many. One of the ones that we are working very recently is creating a pathway between Epcc and Riverside High School by introducing robotics as part of their curriculum. Introducing robotics to the kids at an early age, they will help them to develop a different kind of skills, teamwork, communication, and community involvement. I also say they are going to help them to learn a third language, the robotic language. No Spanish, no English, but the robotic language. We are looking to acquire new production-like equipment using car parking's grant funds. Also, we are in the process to acquire a stackable industrial credentials for our students in the robotics program. This is validate industrial credentials. They are 4. They are in safety, quality, hydraulics and pneumatics, CNC. This is by the Manufacturing Skill Standards Council. What we are looking also in the future is to apply for additional grants. I don't see another way to buy new equipment, whose one is very expensive, but only way for us is to apply in grants. We already applied for one of the grants in the past 2 weeks, I believe it, and we're asking for $500,000 in equipment. This grant is applying from the Department of Labor. And we are crossing our fingers to get this grant because this one is involved to put in the robotics program and the industrial maintenance manufacturing program and the manufacturing program to be one of the tops in the state of Texas. As I mentioned, I like technology, big time. What is the ambition that we have in the future? What if somebody has been watching Star Wars? This is our ambition. We wanted to have a robot to be autonomous robot, to be walking around to us, but in that way, we have also to look for the different little steps that we have to take. What is the kind of little step that we have to take in order to have this kind of robots? Well, we need to acquire and process data, to develop robotic solutions for real-world challenges, analyze real-time embedded systems, synthesize the schematic design, optimize technology in robotics. But this is the ambition that not only me, but also the manufacturing faculty has, and the manufacturing in robotics has. And I would like to thank you them because this program cannot be possible if we don't have this amazing faculty in these areas. I would like to thank Ms. Rachel Piramontes because his creativity that he gave me to fixing my presentation, and Dr. Serrata, VP Smith, and Dr. Farias for the support in the robotics program. Thank you so much. If you have a questions, please.
Does anybody have questions?
Thank you for the presentation. It was very, very, very thorough. Thank you. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sanchez.
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. This is an area that's of high interest to the young people. They have some robotics competitions, and I know when that happens, they host them there at the District Service Center, and it is so exciting. It's almost like the science fair used to be the exciting opportunity to show off what you did in the area of science. Now it's the same thing with the robotics. So hopefully when the COVID is behind us, we can have some kind of robotics programs for children. I know we have minimal right now, but I think that would be a huge direction to bring more young people to the college. Thank you, Dr. Valerio. I appreciate your time and your work.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to give it a comment. In the past, we were helping to these competitions from the middle schools and the high schools. Faculty was a mentor for them in all these competitions.
Good. Okay. Good job. Ms. Pam, can we move on to the consent docket?
Yes, ma'am. Item 1.11 consent docket includes items 3.2 and 8.1.
You have a motion?
Move to approve.
This is Bonnie Nájera, second.
Thank you. Call the question, Ms. Pam.
Mr. Uxer,
John Uxer, aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
I believe Mrs. Robles has left the call and will not be joining the rest of the call. Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera. Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 2.0, administration. Item 2.1.1, the following policy is presented for first reading and requires no action. DGC legal and DGC local, employee expression and use of college facilities. Item 2.1.2, the following policy is presented for first reading and requires no action. DIAA legal and DIAA local, sex and sexual violence relating to personnel complaints. Item 2.1.3, the following policy is presented for first reading. No action is required. FFDA legal and FFDA local, sex and sexual violence relating to student complaints. Item 2.1.4, the following policy is presented for first reading and requires no action. FKC legal and FKC local, registered student organizations. 2.1.5, the following policy is presented for first reading. No action is necessary. FLA legal and FLA local, student expression and use of college facilities. And 2.1.6, the following policy is presented for first reading and no action required. GD legal and GD local, community expression and use of college facilities.
Okay, so we don't have action on this, but we will revisit this next month. Thank you, Ms. Penn.
Item 3.1, discussion and action to approve full-time staff and faculty recruited in positions funded by the institutional budget.
Any questions, concerns? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
I made a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Uxer,
John Uxer, aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pena, Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 3.3, information items, resignations, and retirement. No action is required. Item 4.1, discussion and action on the approval of an increase to the board-approved software maintenance support contract with Aleutian Higher Education for the Banner Enterprise Resource Planning ERP system in the amount of $5,591, additional amount to the previously approved amount of $514,742.
John Uxer, motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call the question,
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pena, Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 5.0, physical facilities, none. Item 6.1, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor for the Job Corps Scholars Program in the amount of $1,186,900.
This is a very, very healthy grant. Do we have any discussion, any questions? No? If not, we need a motion.
This is Carina Ramirez. Move to approve.
John Uxer, second.
I have a question on this. Congratulations on the accessing of this funding. I wasn't quite clear on the page 160 when it speaks about the counselors. Is it 2 counselors or 4 counselors or 8 counselors total?
This is Carina Ramirez. Move to approve.
Dr. Graham, it's 4 counselors full-time over several years.
So 4 counselors, okay. And the salaries, like for the administrative assistant part-time, that's also for several years?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, it is an incredibly large grant. And so if I could take a moment and just thank some people that are in the audience. First of all, Dr. Jaime Frias for overseeing the area, but Olga Valerio, Dr. Valerio just gave a wonderful presentation on the robotics program, and she's really the driving force behind this particular grant. So kudos to her and her team. It's going to help a bunch of students for a very long time.
Especially the very needy ones that we have at the David Carrasco Job Corps Center. When is this grant going to start? When is this going to be initiated?
It's effective now, Dr. Graham, as soon as you vote to approve it.
Oh, great. Does anyone have any questions? No. Ms. Pam, will you call the question? And congratulations again on this wonderful grant.
Mr. Uxer,
John Uxer, aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 6.2, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant from the Texas Workforce Commission in the amount of $200,000.
Do we have any questions regarding this grant? No? If not, can we have a motion?
John Uxer, motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Keep in mind that on this type of grants, I noticed that they have some money for traveling, but the apprentice, people that oversee the apprenticeship programs, they are willing, very willing to travel to the El Paso area because we need more apprenticeship programs here. So that's one area that we can certainly invite them and they pay their own expenses coming here. Ms. Pam, can you call the question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 6.3, discussion and action on the acceptance of the U.S. Department of Labor Susan Harwood training grant in the amount of $160,000.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? No? Call the question, ma'am.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye. With all these three grants, we have, the staff has brought in over $1.5 million. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. I'd ask Mr. Smith to highlight the other two as well that were worked on in two different areas, but absolutely well over $1.5 million.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Serrata. So we have a long history now of providing workforce safety training under Mr. Barry Bogle, not only under this grant, but also under the grants that we have with Texas Mutual. So congratulations to him, Dr. Frias. I neglected to mention the grants office in the last one. We couldn't do it without the great leadership of Bob Elliott under AVP Mo as well. And then the registered apprenticeship program, also under Dr. Frias. So Dr. Carmen Aguilera-Gerner, of course, runs the apprenticeship program. Someone that's not listed on here is Miss Sabrina Campbell. She does a wonderful job with the apprenticeship programs and generating new apprenticeship opportunities for all of our students. So thank you, Dr. Serrata, for that.
Thank you, sir.
Item 6.4, discussion and action on the approval of the restated and amended Socorro Independent School District Early College High Schools interlocal agreement.
Move to approve.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If someone could just explain what the amendments were for the interlocal agreement, please.
Ms. Sanchez, I didn't hear the question. It broke up a little bit.
Could you repeat your question, ma'am?
Yes, yes, ma'am. The question was, what was the amendment to the interlocal?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we're required to revisit all of these interlocal agreements periodically. This one was modeled after the recent one that was approved for Falcon, Empire, and Pebble Hills early college high schools at the July meeting. Some minor changes. We identified some staffing issues, not allowing any joint employment between EPCC and the school district. Clarified some things around the three-peat rule under item 10 on student services, and then clarified some things around fees, tuition, and instructional materials that the districts may be on the hook for OER fees and other fees like the three-peat as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, clarifications?
And I'll second. I don't think there was a second.
Thank you.
Ms. Pam, call the question, please.
Mr. Uxer,
It unmuted on me. Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Abstain?
Item 6.5, discussion and action to approve an amendment to the board-approved 5-year contract with Blackboard Incorporated to host and support the EPCC Virtual College in the amount of $240,000.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Call the question, please.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 7.1, discussion and action on the approval of a contract award from JSA Technology Card Systems, LP, doing business as Atrium, to purchase a student ID card system in an amount not to exceed $479,852.
Move to approve.
Do we have- Who was the second?
Christina?
Christina Sanchez. Any questions, concerns, discussion? No. Call the question, please.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez, Ms. Sanchez, we didn't hear you, Ms. Sanchez.
Aye, yes. Sorry.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 7.2, discussion and action on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for new courses.
Move to approve 7.2 and 7.3.
Second.
Item 7.3, discussion and action on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for revised courses.
Any questions, concerns? No. Call the question, please.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
and would you like to go into executive session now?
Yes, ma'am.
There is item 8.1 is, do we defer that one or do we take it up?
It was adopted on the consent docket.
Oh, okay.
The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons. 1, consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation or for any purpose authorized by law. 2, discussion about the value or transfer of real property. 3, discussion about a prospective gift or donation. 4, consideration of specific personnel matters. 5, discussion about security personnel or devices. Or 6, discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Discussion with legal counsel regarding the application of the college's proposed free speech policies to religious expression pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071. Discussion with legal counsel regarding the distribution of the proceeds of the settlement and designation of fiscal agent between the college as a member of the Rate 41 group, interveners, and Public Utility Commission applicants, El Paso Electric Company and Sun Jupiter Holdings, and Public Utility Commission of Texas, proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to a J.P. Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, docket number 49849, Public Utility Commission of Texas, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071. Discussion regarding bankruptcy proceedings styled in regards Texas Association of Public Schools Property and Liability Fund, cause number 1752437 in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Texas, San Antonio Division, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071. Time is now 7:03 p.m.
Okay, we're back. Did you guys discuss anything that needs a motion made, Dr. Graham?
Has the item been read in?
Did you have an item that needs to be brought forward to take a vote on out of executive?
I can read item 1.9.2 that was moved to executive session. So item 1.9.2 is discuss and take appropriate action regarding the designation of fiscal agent and distribution of the proceeds of the settlement between the college as a member of the Rate 41 group, interveners, and Public Utility Commission applicants, El Paso Electric Company and Sun Jupiter Holdings, and Public Utility Commission of Texas proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to the J.P. Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, docket number 49849, Public Utility Commission of Texas.
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve El Paso Independent School District to be the fiscal agent for the receipt of the settlement proceeds in the matter on behalf of the Rate 41 group, including EPCC. And I further move that the board approve the division of the proceeds to EPCC according to the previously approved Rate 41 usage percentages used as the basis for the allocation of attorney's fees for the Rate 41 group in that matter.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the question, Ben.
Mr. Uxer,
John, aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
I don't believe Mrs. Robles is on the line, but Mrs. Robles. Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. And let it be known that our next board meeting will be December the 1st for our next month's board meeting, December the 1st at 5 o'clock.
And happy
And
Thanksgiving.
Pam, you'll let us know if we need a facilities meeting.
Yes, sir.
And go vote if you haven't.
Okay.
Get 1 week.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So made.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Thank you all so much, everyone. Have a good evening. Please stay safe.
Likewise.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Everyone, good night.
Good night.